Just imagine I came to the wedding of my son, whom I had devoted my entire existence to, but he coldly told me, "Pop, I'm sorry, but you weren't on the guest list. Please leave." I slipped away without a word, my spirit shattered by the disloyalty. But in less than 2 hours, his flawless ceremony descended into utter chaos. Vengeance. Hardly it was simply fairness catching up. Before we dive deeper, make sure to hit that subscribe button on the channel and drop a comment letting us know your location while listening. The crystal flute tumbled from my grasp. Shimmering fragments danced across the polished stone tiles like scattered constellations under the dim glow of evening lights, each shard mirroring the shock etched on my son's face. "Pop, why are you showing up now?" Daniel's words sliced through the refined murmurs of the assembled guests. His tuxedo, the one I'd shelled out $15,000 for, whispered as he retreated a step. "You weren't meant to be here." I remained rooted at the threshold of the opulent hall, clutching the present I'd personally tied with ribbon. Exotic lilies flown in from Colombia adorned every nook, their scent blending with costly colognes and unspoken disapproval. The ornate ceiling fixtures overhead painted kaleidoscopic designs on panels that had drained 4 months of earnings from my enterprise to secure. "Buddy, it's your big day." My tone came out feebler than planned, echoing faintly in the vast space. "I just wanted to wish you and your partner well." Laura materialized at his side. Her gown impeccably fitted, her expression as keen as frost. "Mr. Hayes, there seems to be some confusion here." "What confusion?" I glanced between them, scanning Daniel's features for traces of the boy who'd once pleaded for me to swing him higher in the backyard. Daniel shot a look at the onlookers. Ladies in bespoke attire murmured behind delicate stemware. Gentlemen in lavish outfits feigned disinterest while hanging on every syllable. "This is an intimate gathering for close kin only," he stated, his words strained with mortification. "Nearest relatives exclusively." The phrase struck like a frigid deluge. 30 years of lullabies, academic performances, and sports events crumbled under that one declaration. 30 years of prioritizing his education savings over my own future security, his joy above my ease. "I funded this entire affair, Daniel." The statement emerged firm, objective. "Every bloom, every dish, the suit on your back." Laura's expression hardened. "Wealth doesn't purchase refinement, sir." "Laura's correct," Daniel murmured, avoiding my gaze. "This goes beyond finances. It's about blending in. You wouldn't grasp the caliber of attendees present." I grasped it all too well. Factory owners who constructed their estates weren't fit for their soirees. The individual who'd forfeited all to elevate his son into their realm had outlived his utility. Nearby discussions had hushed completely. A videographer paused his recording. The jazz ensemble continued, unaware their melodies providing a surreal contrast to the unfolding tension in this lavish setting. "I get it." I placed the present on an adjacent surface amid pristine glasses and pale irises. "I wouldn't dream of humiliating you." "Pop, kindly don't complicate this further." I examined his countenance, committing to memory the traits I'd soothed to sleep for 2 decades. His mother's hazel eyes, now as unyielding as polished granite. The grin I'd labored extra shifts to afford orthodontics for, now averted from me. "You're spot on," I replied softly. "I don't fit in here." The path to the doorway felt eternal, like traversing a vast expanse. High-end shoes tapped on the stone. Murmured exchanges picked up in my wake. A chuckle rang out, shrill and forced. My sturdy shoes shined specially thudded heavily on the immaculate surface. Outdoors, the crisp autumn breeze filled my chest like liberation. The lot extended ahead, crammed with high-end vehicles beyond my reach. My old van lingered solitary in the distant spot precisely where it belonged in their domain. I fished for my mobile hand steady amid the turmoil. 27 years of forging a firm from scratch had instilled endurance in me. 27 years of cherishing an unappreciative son had revealed the genuine worth of devotion. The display illuminated with overlooked messages from my attorney regarding a land issue. I bypassed them to locate another contact, one dormant for weeks, but abruptly essential. My finger paused over the label, Central Trust Bank Commercial Division. Within that hall, my son reveled in his fresh existence, excluding me. Beyond, I prepared to embark on my sans hymn. The device connected once before a response came. Massive portals shut behind me with the conclusiveness of a safe locking. Ceremony tunes dwindled to echoes as I traversed the pavement to my van, every stride more purposeful than before. The presents stayed on their stand forsaken like all else I'd bestowed. October gusts bore the aroma of impending storm. Ominous skies amassed over the site's towering arches, draping gloom across premium autos valued more than typical residences. My footwear ground on pebbles as I neared the van, keys gripped firmly. Within the interior, quiet enveloped me like a shield. Console timepiece indicated 4:12 p.m. Ample window before financial institutions shuttered on weekends. Sufficient span for multiple critical discussions. I navigated my directory until spotting the required entry. Central Trust Bank Commercial Division glowed on the panel. My digit lingered precisely 4 seconds prior to initiating. Central Trust. This is Elena on the line. How can I support you? Elena Robert Hayes here, profile 88466723. I require halting disbursements on various cleared operations. Certainly, Mr. Hayes, allow me to access your profile. Could you confirm your identification number and maternal surname routine protocol? I supplied the details while observing arrivals at the site's main portal. Females in satin garments, males tweaking pricey sleeve buttons oblivious to the impending unraveling. Appreciated. I note multiple substantial movements today, which precisely all event-associated outflows, site lease meal prep, advanced botanical setups recording entertainment providers, each element listed smoothly like stock taking. Execution must be prompt. Sir, these sums are considerable. Are you definite on ceasing everyone utterly definite? Circumstances have shifted. Keystrokes bridge the interval. Authorization sequences needed for sums exceeding $12,000. I recalled the sequences from recollection. 27 years managing a manufacturing outfit had drilled in memorizing vital figures, every agreement, nuance, every fund clearance. Halts are active now. Verification codes generating. Further needs. That addresses the fiscal aspect. Gratitude. Elena. Subsequent connection to Riverside's elite meal service, the identical firm Daniel had demanded despite their exorbitant rates. Premier feasts. Marcus here. Marcus Robert Hayes calling concerning the Thompson nuptials occurring presently. Ah yes, Mr. Hayes. All proceeding splendidly. Attendees praising the starters. Regrettably, a monetary snag arose. Clearance for payment withdrawn. Best safeguard your gear and leftover provisions. The quiet lingered. Then pardon, what precisely do you imply? The institution has blocked remittance on your pact. Instant effect. Recommend securing your holdings. But we're midway through delivery? Entree yet to commence. Unfortunate scheduling. My timbre stayed even, businesslike. Perhaps consult the bridal group on substitute settlement. Marcus terminated abruptly. Wise choice. The botanist picked up on the third tone. Riverside Florals. Sandra on the line. Sandra Robert Hayes about the Thompson Ceremony Botanicals. Mr. Hayes, the compositions are breathtaking. The groom adored the irises. A remittance problem occurred. Institution approval annulled. You'll wish to retrieve your compositions to preserve worth. Retrieve them, but they're woven into the whole site aesthetic. Commerce is commerce, Sandra. Advise swift action. 4 additional connections ensued. Recording Services Jazz Group, even the fabric lease firm. Each exchange mirrored the prior. Courteous professionalism escalating dismay. Hasty terminations as suppliers rushed to shield themselves. My device displayed 4:38 p.m. upon concluding the final. Via the glass, I spotted a pristine mule van approaching the site's utility access. Marcus presumably arriving to reclaim viable items. Within that hall, Daniel likely still mingling with visitors, ignorantly content that his ideal union was poised to transform into a costly tutorial. Laura probably debating ventures with her father's associates, assured in her supremacy over mere factory proprietors. Neither comprehended the true price they'd incurred today. I ignited the motor and exited the slot, cruising leisurely beyond the site's primary ingress. Through expansive panes, I glimpsed the festivities underway. Stemware elevated in salutes, graceful forms gliding over buffed surfaces, all destined for alteration. My device vibrated with an arrival. Daniel's digits on the display. I permitted it to chime. Console clock noted 4:45 p.m. as the initial vehicle materialized. Riverside Florals scripted elegantly on ivory siding. Sandra at the helm with 3 aides alongside. They stationed near the utility ingress and unloaded vacant bins with operational precision. Via sight panes, I observed the mixer in peak form. Stemware capturing fixture glow as visitors intermingled amid Daniel's imported irises. Laura animated expansively to a cluster of gents in opulent garb, likely detailing her newest enterprise scheme. Neither spouse nor partner detected the floral squad entering via lateral portals. Daniel positioned near the chief ingress, luminous in $15,000 of wool and gems, receiving accolades from a continuous flow of kin. His chortle resonated through the chamber, vibrant and unburdened. The timbre would alter shortly. Sandra emerged in the chamber threshold with 3 sizable polymer bins. She proceeded straight to the primary podium setup, her aides encircling the minor exhibits. Visitors commenced pivoting bewilderment, supplanting merriment, as the squad initiated deconstructing the focal point. Pardon me. Daniel neared Sandra with the rehearsed grin of one habituated to directing personnel. We're amid our festivities. Any requirements can hold till afterward. Sir, I'm Sandra from Riverside Florals. Remittance clearance for these setups was voided 45 minutes past. I must reclaim our assets. Daniel's grin wavered, yet endured. That's absurd. All settled months prior. The profile owner, Robert Hayes, reached us personally. All remittances halted. Sandra persisted, extracting blooms with vocational aloofness. I possess scripted permission to gather our setups. Hue ebbed from Daniel's visit. Encircling them, visitors had ceased conversing utterly. Laura traversed the space in swift paces, her demeanor morphing from perplexity to fury. What precisely is transpiring here? Her voice bore the command of one unused to challenge. Remittance troubles, ma'am. We're retrieving unsettled goods. Sandra's aide started encasing the podium setup in shielding film. This is utterly intolerable. Laura's cheeks reddened. Contact your supervisor at once. I am the supervisor, and our pact explicitly declares voided remittances nullify our duty commitments. Sandra gestured to her aides, who began amassing tabletop focal points while visitors observed in astounded hush. Premier Feast meal van arrived externally as Sandra's squad sustained their methodical extraction. Marcus surfaced with 4 staff, their expressions stern with intent. They ingress via the primary portals, this occasion eschewing subtlety. Daniel viewed the irises vanish into bins, his impeccable poise fracturing like delicate porcelain. There must be an error. My pop wouldn't. He couldn't. Sir, we must halt provisions forthwith. Marcus advanced with ledger in grip. Clearance for remittance revoked at 4:38. We're bound by pact to safeguard our apparatus and residual stock. Laura interposed between Marcus and Daniel, her voice escalating. This is my union reception. You cannot halt delivery midway through a gathering. Ma'am, we can and we shall. Upon remittance voidance protocol mandates prompt asset safeguarding. Marcus beckoned his squad, who commenced draping service areas with ivory linens. Visitors shifted uneasily stemware, abandoned in their palms. Exchanges devolved into anxious murmurs. A device toned piercing and disruptive in the strained ambiance. The jazz ensemble halted when their gear coordinator arrived. Audio ceased. Amplifiers deactivated. Even the surrounding illumination altered as the audio expert uncoupled his control panel. Daniel remained immobile in the heart of his disintegrating festivities, tuxedo immaculate amid the turmoil of vanishing amenities. This cannot occur. Not now. Not this way. Daniel, what sort of setup did your kin arrange? Laura's voice harbored fresh distrust, her ire redirecting from suppliers toward her spouse. I don't know. All was meant to be managed. His voice fractured with authentic alarm emerging. The site overseer materialized device to her lobe, murmuring hastily. She neared Daniel with evident hesitation. Mr. Thompson, I've conferred with our ledger division. All disbursements for today's occasion stemmed from one profile of Robert Hayes. That profile owner has withdrawn clearance for each operation. Daniel's poise disintegrated totally. The young man who'd been ousted from his own festivity was at last grasping the magnitude of his father's benevolence and the repercussions of his callousness. He extracted his device with quivering digits, navigating to a known entry. Externally in the lot, my device commenced toning. My device hummed against the console, Daniel's label illuminating the panel. Via the glass, I could discern his outline in the site portal. Device to his lobe with frantic insistence. I declined to respond. Not immediately. 27 years of adoring that man had culminated in this instant. 27 years of trusting that forfeiture would forge integrity rather than erode it. He was 4 when his mother passed. Illness claimed Maria in 8 grueling months, bequeathing me a preschooler who queried for mama each dawn and dusk. I might have wed anew, swiftly secured aid in rearing him. Instead, I opted to embody all Daniel required solo. "Pop, can you tell me one more tale?" he'd inquired at 6, nestled against my torso in his blue sleepwear. I'd already narrated 4 volumes, faced an early conference with prospective backers. But his hazel eyes. Maria's eyes brimmed with such faith. Naturally, Buddy Pop always has moments for you. That evolved into my creed. Robert Hayes perpetually had moments for Daniel and funds and whatsoever he necessitated for contentment. Elite Academy fees devoured half my seasonal gains when he hit 9. Premier schooling currency could procure. I assured myself penning drafts that signified fewer firm growths, tighter individual allocations. Daniel embraced me upon learning of Lakeside Institute. "Thanks, Pop. I'll hit the books hard and honor you." He did hit the books diligently. Perfect marks through primary levels. Institute dramas where I occupied the foremost seat, my assembly-roughened palms clapping louder than other guardians. Daniel would locate me post-radiant with achievement. "Did you catch me nail every line, Pop? I kept you in mind throughout." Secondary altered dynamics. Lakeside Institute implied affluent peers with inheritances and vacation estates. Daniel began noting disparities. His 18th bash outlaid more than certain folks' autos. A Mercedes in the drive, expert provisions, lavish adornments. All others received Mercedes Pop. This Toyota is sorta mortifying. That was 2017. The initial occasion funds turned anticipated instead of valued. I ought to have spotted the alert. University outlays almost insolvent the firm expansion I'd schemed. Stanford Daniels Aspiration Campus demanded forfeiture exceeding fees. Fraternity charges, winter getaway to Bahamas, overseas study in Spain. Each term ushered fresh fiscal pleas. "Pop, I require $4,000 for the Tech Society excursion. Vital for connections." Device chats became deal petitions. Home stops dwindled to festivals solely. When Daniel did connect, dialogue persisted precisely sufficient to clarify why he needed funds and how rapidly transferred. Postgrad introduced Laura to his world, inherited wealth lineage ties, all I couldn't furnish despite eras of diligence. Daniel initiated remarks on my look-at-kin assemblies. "Might you don something besides those labor shoes when visiting Laura's circle will attend?" The man who once appreciated bedtime narratives now shamed by the individual who'd supplied all he'd desired. Triumph in manufacturing signified naught to his novel elite group. Erecting the firm that bankrolled his existence rendered me unfit for his existence. Prior Yuletide, he'd presented me to Laura's folks as Daniel's Pop, who runs a modest operation. Modest operation. 27 years forging Hayes. Builders from void staffing. 75 souls generating enough to uphold his princely existence, diminished to modest operation. Pop. We must discuss ceremony funding. Laura's kin holds specific standards for the right, not appreciation for proposing to cover. Not we'd cherish your aid, merely standards, as if my life's toil existed purely to fulfill his societal mandates. The ceremony planning sessions resembled commerce hagglings. Daniel presented grids, Laura tendered views on expense optimization. Neither recognized each line represented months of my toil. Blooms flown from Colombia. Wine costing more per vessel than my staff gained daily. A tuxedo valued above most monthly lease. This transcends money, Pop. It's quality. Laura's kin recognizes quality. Quality my funds acquired, but my attendance lessened. The very accomplishment enabling their fantasy union rendered me too ordinary to partake. My device hummed anew. Daniel's fourth effort in 6 minutes. Via the sight panes, I could view him striding tuxedo flowing behind like a banner of capitulation. 27 years of forfeiture had birthed this juncture. Not a thankful son honoring his father's munificence, but a frantic man at last comprehending what he'd forfeited. The paradox was impeccable. The affection that had indulged him would now instruct him its authentic merit. I grasped the device. Moment to reply. Motor purred softly as I departed the lot. Daniel's agitated form diminishing in my mirror. His device shone like a signal in the deepening twilight, summoning me for the 9th occasion in 12 minutes. Each chime seemed intentional, regulated my schedule, not his. The journey residence spanned 25 minutes through Riverside's weekend dusk congestion. 25 minutes observing my device glow with Daniel's label. Each summons more frantic than prior. Upon arriving my drive, he'd deposited 5 audios. I hearkened while perched in my shed. Motor halted. Shed portal sealing aft like a drape descending on the day's initial scene. Audio 1. Pop payments glitched. Error occurred. Return call pronto. Audio 2. This ceased being amusing. Suppliers seizing all. Folks gawking. Merely return call. Audio 3. Please pop. I can't fathom the occurrence. Laura's kin querying stuff I can't explain. Audio 4, his timbre fracturing. I require you. Please respond, please. Audio 5, sobbing evident. Pop, everything's ruined. Help me. The device toned again as I concluded the 5th. Daniel's label surfaced paired with a snapshot from his university commencement. The final instance he'd embraced me sans needing funds foremost. I responded on the 6th chime, "Hello, Daniel." "Pop, at last, what did you do? How could you wreck my ceremony?" His voice bore sheer terror now, none of the managed rejection from earlier. "Fine." Terror signified consciousness. Consciousness was the initial stride toward insight. I didn't wreck a thing. I stated maintaining equilibrium. I merely ceased funding items. You can't merely cease. This is my union day. 70 folks here wondering why blooms vanished and why meal delivery halted. "Where are you summoning from the inn?" We had no choice. The site overseer declared we must clear tabs before lingering, so we'd been requested to depart. That clarified the reverberation in his timbre, the lack of ceremony melodies aft. Daniel, attend closely. "When last did you express thanks for anything?" "What, Pop?" "This isn't lecture time. I need you to contact these suppliers and rectify this chaos. Reply the query. When last did you convey sincere thanks for my monetary backing?" Quiet extended between. Aft. I could discern Laura's voice keen with exasperation. I can't recall exact moments, but I've perpetually been thankful. You recognize that. Truly, I don't. What I recognize is that 4 hours past, you informed me I didn't belong at your union, a union I funded wholly. I didn't intend it thus. I was tense. Ceremony jitters. His voice pivoted, adopting the coaxing note he'd mastered in university when soliciting funds for winter getaways. "Pop, please, I'll compensate this. We can discuss all later, but presently, I need you to clear the remittances so we can preserve what's remnant of the festivities." What's remnant? The pastry remains. Certain visitors linger. The videographer awaits to negotiate. And what precisely do you intend to employ for settlement? Another interval. Extended now. I assumed you'd manage it. You perpetually manage it. I have perpetually. Accurate. Do you comprehend how much I've expended on you across 27 years? Pop, please don't force guesses now. I'm in emergency state. Venture a guess. Approximate. I don't know. Perhaps 60,000. I nearly chortled. 60,000 wouldn't encompass his junior term at Stanford. Daniel? I've disbursed over $400,000 on your schooling, residence mobility, and way of life since your mother departed. That excludes today's outlay. The connection hushed, save his respiration. 400. That can't be accurate. It's understated. I possess records for each outlay. Why disclose this now? Because you've never queried. In 27 years, you've never once probed the expense of your way of life or voiced worry about the load it imposed on me. Load. I'm your son. Yes, you are. And I adored you sufficiently to relinquish all for your bliss. The query is, what have you relinquished for mine? Laura's voice amplified aft. He muffled the device momentarily, their subdued dispute scarcely audible. Pop Laura's kin is truly distressed. They're querying our finances. They desire to know how we'll settle this. That's betwixt you and your spouse. But I lack that sort of funds, you know I lack. Then maybe it's time you master earning it. The quiet ensuing endured almost 40 seconds. What do you seek from me? I seek you to comprehend what you discarded this afternoon when you ousted the man who enabled your whole way of life. I comprehend now. I erred. Can we mend this? We'll observe. I'm assessing our complete fiscal bond. There will be records. We'll converse this appropriately when I'm prepared. I terminated the connection and deactivated my device. Via my culinary pane, I could view Riverside's illuminations commencing to sparkle afar. Daniel was someplace yonder confronting his initial evening of monetary autonomy. The tutorial was merely commencing. Gentle radiance from my workstation lamp projected accustomed shades across 27 years of scrupulous archiving. Storage units aligned one barrier of my residence workspace like guardians, protecting confidences Daniel had never troubled to inquire. This evening, those confidences would ultimately fulfill their role. Brew vaporized beside my machine as I unlocked the initial compartment tagged Daniel Schooling 2018. Aft me, the abode settled into dusk tranquility, but my intellect hummed with the organized vigor that had erected Hayes Builders from nil into a 75-soul venture. This wasn't reprisal. This was a review. Premier Dossier Lakeside Institute. 13 years of elite academy fees, each disbursement archived with transfers and term assessments. $9,500 annually in 2010, ascending to $14,000 by completion. The arithmetic was stark. $148,000 for primary and secondary schooling solely. I fashioned a fresh grid, digits flowing instinctively across the keys. Row titles date, detail sum group cumulative. 27 years of paternity distilled to metrics and equations. Stanford dossier followed, bulkier than others swollen with lodging pacts, dining schemes, overseas study charges. Fees alone $58,000 yearly for 4 terms. Lodging and meals another $18,000 per annum. Winter in Bahamas. Sophomore year, $4,000 to $200. Summer in Spain amid his history. Passion, $9,500. Crucial for my growth. Pop, he'd claimed about Spain. This is how folks in my course connect. Sheet by sheet, voucher by voucher, the figures mounted. Stanford sum, $312,000. 4 years of higher ed outlaid more than most garnered in 6 years of labor. Mobility dossier unveiled its own trends. Initial auto at 18. Dependable Toyota Camry for $20,000. All others pilot Mercedes. He'd grumbled within 7 months, second auto at 20. Mercedes C-Class for $32,000. Third auto at 27. Mercedes GLE as Laura's Circle Pilot's premium crossovers. Each auto accompanied coverage rates, upkeep costs, and enrollment charges Daniel never witnessed. Concealed outlays that dutiful fathers ingested sans remark. My device hummed. Daniel's label surfaced anew. I permitted it to chime, appending another input to my grid. Device iPhone 15 Pro. Max, $1,499. Tech. Existence Outlays dossier harbored the bleakest revelations. Post-completion flat in upscale district. $3,000, $200 monthly lease for 4 years. Charge card settlements when his outgo surpassed the ample stipend I supplied. Averaging $1,200 monthly for 3 years. Designer apparel buys wellness sessions. Holiday jaunts with comrades whose guardians funded akin existences. The aggregates expanded like accrued interest. Schooling $460,000, mobility $85,000, residence aid $152,000, individual outlays $210,000, ceremony $162,000. My estimator displayed $1,069,000. Over $1 million dispersed incrementally over 27 years, each outlay appearing sensible, isolated. Elite Academy was a stake in his tomorrow. University unlocked portals, dependable auto assured security, fine attire fostered assurance. The ceremony commemorated affection. But the trend narrated differently. Daniel had never added a sole dollar to his own upkeep, never retained employment exceeding 7 months, never voiced concern over expenses or thanks for forfeitures. I accessed the image collections I'd preserved through his youth. Daniel at 9, toothy and beaming, post his debut Institute drama. Thanks for attending Pop. Did you hear the applause volume Daniel at 13, victorious post-debate triumph? I pondered you when anxious, and it aided word recall. When had he ceased viewing me as a being worthy of thanks? When had I become solely a funding origin for his aspirations? My device toned again. Daniel's 15th summons since our exchange concluded. This occasion, he'd deposited an audio. Pop, please respond. I've pondered your words. I recognize I haven't been thankful sufficiently. I recognize I've assumed you. Laura's kin threatens departure, sans fiscal explanation. I need to know your desires from me. What I desired was 27 years of valuation that would never arrive. What I required was certainty that Daniel grasped the merit of what he'd nonchalantly ousted. I outputted the grid overview and arranged backing papers into beige envelopes, schooling, mobility, residence, individual outlays, ceremony costs. Each envelope dense with proof of affection converted to currency forfeiture, gauged in transfers. Tomorrow would usher dialogues Daniel wasn't equipped for, queries on duty liability and the authentic price of privilege. Tonight was for readiness. The papers arrayed across my workstation like proof in a tribunal proceeding. Over $1 million in aid proffered sans query valuation or recognition. Daniel had existed like nobility while handling his patron like contracted aid. That setup was poised to transform. My device hummed once more with Daniel's label. I extended for it, then halted. Not yet. Let him sense what powerlessness resembled. Let him sample the terror of monetary reliance, sans assurances. The tutorial would persist come dawn. Thursday dawn ushered brisk October air and the sort of lucidity from meticulous readiness. My portfolio rested by the entry laden with 27 years of archived proof. Simmons and Partners had consented to an urgent session at 9:30 a.m. Vocational courtesy amid entrepreneurs who grasped certain scenarios couldn't await Friday. The legal suite felt suitably grave. Oak walls, juridical tomes bordering the barriers, credentials archiving eras of triumphant practice. Patricia Simmons personally greeted me in the meeting chamber, her auburn locks and crisp attire emanating the proficiency I sought. Mr. Hayes, I've examined your initial papers. This archiving degree is outstanding. She dispersed my envelopes across the varnished board, perusing fiscal overviews with seasoned adeptness. Each folio embodied months of Daniel's existence, bankrolled by my forfeiture. The aggregate sum engaged over $1 million across 27 years. That's notable even by our measures. I desire this managed vocationally, I declared, easing into the hide seat opposite. No sentiment, merely commerce. Daniel needs to grasp the monetary actuality of what he's assumed. Patricia inclined, jotting on a golden pad. The papers back either donation recategorization or pledge note creation. Given the escalating pleas sans mutual duty, we possess various retrieval choices. She delineated the tactic with exacting accuracy. Official request missive demanding complete restitution within 45 days, thorough ledger of all outlays with backing proof, explicit schedule for reply and bargaining, vocational outcomes for non-adherence. This method converts a keen quarrel into a commerce deal. Far neater for all. By 11:30 a.m., the papers were ready. Formal stationary juridical phrasing, grave ramifications. The plea was straightforward. 1069,000 restitution within 45 days or juridical actions would initiate. Will organize messenger dispatch this dusk. Endorsement mandated forging official log of acceptance. I journeyed residents with duplicates of all contentment mingling with sorrow for the need of such steps. Daniel had birthed this scenario via years of privilege. I was merely supplying the outcomes he'd never encountered. At precisely 3:45 p.m., my device toned. The messenger firm verifying dispatch to the Riverside Lux Inn Suite 1563. Endorsed receipt by Daniel Hayes Thompson. The official procedure had launched. I envisioned Daniel's bewilderment when the encounter summoned about a juridical dispatch, his presumption it was supplier-linked forms. Laura assuming command as the accountable spouse, fracturing the official stamp with habitual haughtiness, then perusing understanding dawning gradually. The device began toning at 4:12 p.m. Daniel's label pulsing repeatedly on my panel. I let each summons to audio, each note more frantic than prior. Note 1. Pop, what is this juridical paper? This can't be earnest. Note 2. $1,000 is $1,000. That's impossible. You never declared these were advances. Note 3. Please return. Laura's kin is querying stuff I can't reply. Note 4. His timbre shattering. I don't fathom how all went awry so swiftly. Note 5. Pleading. Pop, we need to halt this before it worsens. At the Lux Inn, Daniel and Laura were uncovering what liability resembled when supported by juridical power. 27 years of donations had been recategorized as reclaimable obligation. Their monetary reliance was now archived, quantified, and prone to retrieval protocols. The ceremony fiasco had been the prelude. This was the core act. Patricia had clarified the procedure lucidly. Civic obligation retrieval adheres standard protocols. They'll require juridical counsel to reply aptly. That outlays funds they lack for an obligation they can't settle. Daniel's frantic summonses persisted through the dusk. 18 overlooked summonses. 10 audios each unveiling deeper insight of his vulnerability. The man who ousted me from his union was commencing to grasp what he'd truly ousted. The paradox was impeccable. Daniel had expended 27 years assuming my monetary backing. Now he confronted 45 days to restore it all with vocational outcomes for shortfall. My device hummed again. Daniel's 19th summons. This occasion I resolved to respond. Pop, please. We must discuss this sensibly. Daniel's voice fractured via the device emitter. Weariness supplanting the terror from yesterday. This juridical paper, it can't be authentic. I eased into my culinary seat brew, vaporizing beside. Via the pane, Riverside's Thursday dusk appeared serene. Families strolling pets, youth cycling. Ordinary folks living ordinary existences. The paper is wholly authentic, Daniel, as are the 44 days you possess to reply. But 1,000, that's unattainable. You never said any was an advance. I never said it was a donation either. You merely presumed. Aft, I could hear Laura's voice, keen with exasperation, sheets crinkling the noise of someone striding. Daniel, I need to grasp something I said, preserving my timbre balanced. Who precisely do you plan to reach for aid in this scenario? Quiet extended between us. Then kin comrades, folks who cherish me. I see. Well, you have 43 days left. I suggest you commence those summonses. I concluded the exchange and set my device to mute. Let Daniel uncover what I already discerned, that over 1 million in obligation would disclose precisely who was eager to aid and who would courteously refuse. The device illuminated repeatedly through the dusk, Daniel's label emerging and vanishing on the panel like a distress beacon. I let each summons unanswered, each audio unheard. By twilight, the summonses had ceased. Friday dawn brought a distinct sort of hush. No frantic notes from Daniel, no desperate audios, just stillness. I journeyed to the factory where we were initiating a new warehouse project. Tangible labor had always aided clear thinking. The clamor of equipment, The odor of fresh soil, the fulfillment of constructing something sturdy and enduring. My overseer, Mike, neared around 10:30 a.m. "Chief, you appear altered today." "All fine kin matter," I said, observing the digger clear base area. "Sometimes you must render tough choices for folks' benefit." "Offspring, huh?" "Something akin." My device hummed. Note from Daniel. "Pop. I've been attempting to contact kin and comrades. All shocked by the sum. Please summon me." I erased the note sans reply. Another note arrived 90 minutes later. "Uncle Thomas says he can't engage. He thinks I should master duty. What does that signify?" Then another. "Rachel won't accept my summonses anymore. Karen is querying why I never labored. Folks are handling me like I erred." The notes sustained through the dusk, each revealing Daniel's mounting seclusion. His university roommate was uneasy with the dialogue. His fraternity brothers were astonished by the fiscal details. His scant remaining comrades were incapable of aiding with such sums. Laura was encountering her own issues. Her mother had evidently summoned 4 times demanding clarifications. Her father desired a kin assembly on prestige control. Her sibling was posing sharp queries on fiscal revelation pre-union. By Saturday, the trend was evident. Daniel's aid web was collapsing beneath the burden of over $1 million in obligation. Folks who'd relished his munificent, amusing, and costly presence were abruptly unavailable when he required monetary support. Sunday's note was briefer. "Nobody will aid. All have pretexts." Laura is scarcely conversing with me. Her parents desire her to consult a jurist on safeguarding her holdings. I don't fathom how all altered so rapidly. 40 days left. Daniel was mastering what monetary independence truly signified when you'd never cultivated the abilities to attain it. The tutorial was advancing precisely as planned. Monday morning's hush felt altered. No text notes from Daniel, no frantic audios, just an odd quiet that prompted me to verify my device twice to confirm functionality. The counteroffensive commenced. Tuesday. My aide Sarah rapped on my workspace portal around 9:30 a.m., clutching a printed dispatch with evident worry across her visage. "Mr. Hayes, I got this query from Riverside Commerce Gazette. They're inquiring on kin troubles impacting your operations." I perused the dispatch thrice. Vocational language concealing pointed queries on my steadiness and handling of kin. Someone had been initiating summonses. "Any notion how they learned there's also this?" Sarah proffered her slate, displaying a social post with over 250 forwards. Daniel's union photo, splendid and glowing, trailed by sentimental text depicting a merciless pop who had demolished his memorable day and was now pleading impossible fiscal settlements as penalty. The post depicted me as an erratic individual exacting reprisal on his son for imagined offenses. Hundreds of remarks voiced astonishment and compassion. Several labeled local enterprise owners I'd collaborated with for eras. My device toned. "Carl Rodriguez from Rodriguez Supplies, a 22-year commerce ally. Robert, I'm viewing some troubling stuff online. Folks saying you're having matters with your son's ceremony costs. Carl, there's papers that narrate a very distinct tale. I hope so, because some people are querying your pacts with the municipality. You know how politics function here. 4 more summonses ensued within 60 minutes, all voicing worry, all posing cautious queries on my psychological state and enterprise choices. Daniel and Laura had been active. I located Laura's tactic readily. Her lineage name unlocked portals in Riverside's elite rings. Thompson kin links extended to leisure clubs, philanthropy panels, and vocational groups where prestige mattered. They were employing those links to disseminate Daniel's tale of victimhood. The local social clusters buzzed with indirect versions of the narrative. Factory proprietor demands $500, $1,000 from Sun Post wrecking his union. Riverside entrepreneur litigated own offspring for ceremony costs. Each recounting grew more theatrical, more harmful. By midday, I'd received 9 commerce-linked summonses voicing concern. The Riverside Commerce Association head pondered my mindset regarding forthcoming civic ventures. 4 distinct suppliers mentioned hearing items that might affect our labor bonds. Daniel and Laura had selected their arena meticulously. In a town like Riverside, prestige was tender. Ruin someone's position in the commerce community, and you ruin their sustenance. They'd aired one vital element. I journeyed residents and extracted the papers Patricia Simmons had assisted organize. 27 years of fiscal logs categorized and summarized. Every draft, every remittance, every outlay Daniel had never queried or valued. Then I initiated my own summonses. Patricia, I need to arrange a media assembly for tomorrow dawn. We're publicizing with the full fiscal papers. Are you sure? Once this data is public, no retraction. Daniel and Laura have publicized already. Now for the verity. The ensuing 7 hours were systematic readiness. I reached the Riverside Commerce Gazette, directly proffering full fiscal openness. I summoned the 4 journalists Daniel's drive had contacted, vowing archived proof that would narrate the actual tale. Most crucially, I reached 27 years of commerce allies, community guides, and vocational associates. Folks who'd observed me erect haze builders from nil. Folks who'd witnessed my commitment to both commerce and kin over eras. Mike, I'm summoning all on our supplier roster. There's going to be a narrative tomorrow that rectifies the record on Daniel's matter. By twilight, I had affirmation Riverside Commerce Gazette would feature a story. Local broadcasts consented to cover the media assembly. The papers were duplicated and prepared for dissemination. Daniel's counteroffensive had endured 4 days. My reply would endure 1 morning. The verity aptly archived and vocationally presented would resonate louder than social manipulation and sentimental pleas. 39 days left on the juridical cutoff. By tomorrow dusk, Daniel would grasp that ruining prestiges was a pursuit best engaged by folks with genuine substance to protect. Wednesday dawn arrived with the accuracy of a factory timetable. At precisely 9:30 a.m., I disclosed 27 years of fiscal papers across every venue Daniel and Laura had tainted with their fabrications. The display was systematic. Vocational irrefutable institution log showing $1,069,000 in remittances over 27 years. Categorized grids dissecting schooling costs, mobility outlays, residence aid, and way of life funding. Images of Daniel at every phase of his indulged existence, each picture aligned to corresponding fiscal backing. Full openness. 27 years of paternal aid archived. Read the caption I'd selected. Beneath it, a thorough chronology displaying Daniel's advancement from thankful youth to privileged adult, with every dollar dispersed, archived, and confirmed. The reaction was instant. Within 60 minutes, my device began toning with altered voices. Not worried this time. Backing Robert, I had no clue on the scope of aid you provided, said Jack Harlan from Harlan Mechanics. My offspring are in higher ed, and I'm outlaying maybe $18,000 yearly total. You outlaid that much each term. Carl Rodriguez returned summons. I owe apology. Post-viewing those institution logs, I grasp exactly your dealing. That privileged degree would shatter any guardian. The social momentum pivoted like a landslide reversed. Remarks that had backed Daniel's victim tale abruptly appeared ingenuous against the backdrop of fiscal actuality. Captures of institution logs showing $58,000 annual university fees. Vouchers for 3 distinct premium autos, 30 years of residence apparel, and way of life. Outlays that most kin would deem impossible to bear. Patricia Simmons summoned at 11:30 a.m. Robert. The reaction has been remarkable. The Riverside Commerce Gazette wants a feature on fiscal duty and privilege. You've turned a prestige counteroffensive into a community tutorial instant. By midday, Daniel's original social post appeared pitiful against the heap of proof I'd supplied. Folks were forwarding my papers with remarks like, "This is actual paternal forfeiture." And no surprise he's pursuing restitution. This aid level is a full-time vocation. The Riverside manufacturing community united fully. Suppliers who'd queried my steadiness were now forwarding tales on my labor ethic and honor. The Commerce Association head issued a public declaration backing my stance. Even the mayor's suite released a remark on the significance of fiscal duty and kin bonds. Mike messaged from the factory. "Chief, the team is discussing your matter. All behind you." None can believe what Daniel inflicted. Local broadcasts adopted the narrative as a human concern piece on paternal forfeiture and liability. The archived proof eased their task. They merely had to present facts and let observers conclude. Daniel's counteroffensive had recoiled magnificently. His depiction of victimhood couldn't endure contact with 27 years of archived fiscal actuality. The community that had briefly queried my steadiness was now querying his. Laura's kin links worked against now. Their elite circle was viewing exactly what sort of folks they'd embraced into their web. Thompson kin credibility was being employed to disseminate fabrications about an esteemed entrepreneur who had merely archived the verity. By twilight, the tale had wholly inverted. Daniel and Laura weren't victims of a harsh pop. They were privileged persons who had assailed a munificent guardian when he finally established limits. The papers narrated a tale that sentimental manipulation couldn't oppose. Every institution log was a section in 27 years of forfeiture. Every voucher was proof of affection assumed. My device hummed with a note from Daniel. "Pop, please remove those fiscal logs. Folks saying awful things about us." I erased the note, sans reply. 38 days left. The tutorial was almost done. Laura's device toned at 7:12 a.m., Thursday dawn, startling both from restless slumber. The in-chamber felt tinier with each elapsing hour, burdened with the mass of social catastrophe and escalating fiscal strain. "Laura, this is your dad," the voice transmitted via the emitter with indisputable command. "We need to converse immediately." Daniel observed Laura's visage pale as she hearkened to demands he couldn't fully discern. Her replies were abrupt protective. "Yes, I grasped the ramifications. No, I didn't know the documentation extent. The matter is more intricate than anticipated." The exchange endured 15 minutes. When Laura disconnected, she gazed at the device for a prolonged instant before uttering, "My kin wants me residence today." "Residence, Laura. This is transient. My pop will settle once." Daniel halt. Her voice bore a conclusiveness he'd never heard. "My dad received summonses yesterday from 4 distinct commerce allies querying our kin troubles. The Leisure Club is abuzz with chatter on the Thompson kin's link with fiscal deceit." Fiscal deceit. That's ludicrous. This is a kin dispute that escalated. Laura commenced extracting garments from compartments, thrusting them into her valise with keen, irate motions. "Your pop disclosed institution logs showing over $1 million in aid you never recognized. To my kin's elite circle, that appears deception at minimum, manipulation at maximum." Daniel sensed panic ascending in his torso like glacial fluid. "You're departing." "We just wed 7 days past. 7 days that have demolished my vocational prestige and my kin's position in the community." Laura's packing intensified. "I possess an inheritance, Daniel. Enterprise prospects a tomorrow that hinges on preserving certain bonds. What about our bond? What about our union pledges?" Laura halted packing and regarded him directly for the first time post-summons. "What union you drew me into a fiscal disaster sans alert? Your pop is demanding over $1 million in restitution, and you have no means to settle. My kin jurist says I need to shield from potential responsibility." "Responsibility? I'm your husband. You're a fiscal load with no holdings and massive obligation." The phrases struck Daniel like corporeal strikes. My kin cannot bear association with this scandal degree. Daniel's device, mute for days, abruptly hummed with a note from Laura's mother. "Daniel, dear, Laura needs to return residence. Kin duties you comprehend." The civility worsened it somehow. Even Laura's mother, who had lauded Daniel's charm and intellect at the union, was severing ties with exacting precision. "Laura, please, we can navigate this jointly. My pop is irate, but he adores me. This will dissipate." Daniel surveyed around. Laura motioned at his portable, still open to ruinous social remarks. "This isn't dissipating. Your pop disclosed fiscal logs spanning 27 years. Folks calling you an inheritance child who never labored a day. They're accurate." The charge stung as it was precise. Daniel had never retained a vocation longer than 7 months, had never added fiscally to his own upkeep, had never questioned where his comfortable existence originated. I was being a son. Sons are supposed to be backed by their pops, not to the tune of over $1 million across 27 years sans any thanks or exchange. Laura fastened her valise. My kin operates in spheres where folks contribute to society. They erect enterprises back philanthropies generate worth. What have you ever generated besides outlays? Daniel felt something fracturing within his torso. Not just his union, but his comprehension of self and his place in the globe. Where will I go? I lack funds for the inn. My charge cards are exhausted. Everyone ceased conversing with me. Laura paused at the portal palm on the knob. Summon your pop. Apologize. Accept duty. Maybe he'll aid you figure how to become a genuine adult. Laura. Please don't abandon me solo. Daniel, I've been solo in this union since inception. You never added anything except anticipations and outlays. Her voice mellowed marginally. Maybe forfeiting all will teach you something. Your pop's funds never could. The portal sealed aft with devastating conclusiveness. Daniel stared at the inn chamber that abruptly felt immense and vacant. His tuxedo still suspended in the wardrobe, a memento of 7 days that had demolished his whole existence. No spouse, no kin backing, no comrades, no funds. For the first time in 30 years, Daniel Hayes Thompson was utterly alone. He grasped his device and navigated to a number he hadn't summoned since that initial frantic weekend. His pop's contact surfaced on the panel like a rescue he wasn't certain he merited to seize. 37 days left to locate over $1 million he lacked to reconstruct bonds he'd demolished, to become someone he'd never been. The device toned once before a known voice responded. Hello, Daniel? His voice bore none of the warmth I'd matured with, but no malice either, just serene recognition that his son was finally summoning post-forfeiting all. Pop. The word emerged, shattered scarcely above a murmur. I don't know where to commence. Commence with the verity. Do you grasp what transpired this week? I gazed at the inn chamber around me, at Laura's absence, at my portable screen, still displaying hundreds of remarks condemning my conduct. The mass of 30 years of careless privilege crashed down like a toppled structure. I forfeited everything. My spouse departed this dawn. Her kin severed me completely. I lack funds for tonight's inn bill. My voice fractured. Everyone despises me. Do you grasp why? The query lingered in the air like a dare. For 30 years I had blamed others for my issues, made pretexts, found someone else accountable for every outcome. Not this time. Because I handled you like a fund source instead of a being. Because I never valued what you forfeited for me. Because I was self-centered and privileged and harsh. Quiet extended between us. I could hear him respiring, pondering my words. Proceed. I viewed the fiscal logs you disclosed. $1,000 over 27 years. I never queried where the funds originated, never thanked you aptly, never pondered what you were relinquishing to provide for me. Tears flowed freely. Now the first authentic tears I'd wept since this initiated. I ousted you from my own union, a union you funded wholly. What else? I attempted to ruin your prestige when you resisted me. I fabricated about you on social. I got Laura's kin to disseminate rumors on your character. The confessions felt like extracting venom from a tainted lesion. I became everything erroneous with indulged offspring who never mature. Daniel, his voice mellowed marginally. Do you recall when you were 9 after your mother departed? You embraced me every dusk and told me I was the finest pop in the globe. I recall. I desired to bestow you all because I adored you, but somewhere en route bestowing you all became the cause you ceased adoring me back. I never ceased adoring you, Pop. I ceased displaying it. I ceased being thankful. I ceased being a son and became a taker. What do you seek from me now? The query terrified me because I grasped it wasn't just about prompt aid, it was about what sort of bond we could have advancing. I want to earn your esteem. I want to become the son you merit. I want to master how to be an adult who adds instead of merely taking. I wipe my eyes with my hands back, but first I need aid enduring long enough to demonstrate I can alter. What sort of aid? I need sufficient funds to remain in the inn for 1 more week while I locate a vocation. Any vocation. I need a chance to prove I can uphold myself. Daniel, if I aid you this time, there will be stipulations. Anything. You'll locate employment within 3 weeks. I don't care if it's mopping floors or serving meals. Pride is an extravagance you can no longer bear. I grasp. No fiscal pleas for 8 months. You demonstrate you can exist on what you gain. Yes. We'll converse once weekly, but our dialogues will be between two adults, not between a guardian and reliant offspring. I want that. I want to earn the right to be your son again. Daniel, I'm going to transfer $1 your $200 to your profile. That covers this in for 1 week and basic provisions. After that, you're solo. Pop, thank you. I know I don't merit. You're accurate. You don't merit it, but everyone merits one chance to mature even at 30. His voice bore both firmness and optimism. Daniel, I've always adored you. Now I want to see if I can esteem you too. I won't disappoint you. Not again. We'll observe. Love you, buddy. The connection concluded, but for the first time in a week, I felt something beyond despair. Not relief precisely, but potential. The chance to become someone worth esteeming. 36 days to demonstrate I could alter. A lifetime to regain what I had discarded. I opened my portable and started hunting for vocations in Riverside. Every beginner position appeared daunting to someone who'd never truly labored. But daunting was superior to impossible. For the first time in my existence, I was going to earn something myself. The tutorial was finally commencing. If you enjoyed this tale, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts on this story in the comments. To hear the next tale, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.